how do you keep a koi pond from getting that pea green soup water? This pond has a UV filter, a biofalls, and a sand filter on it, and the water still looks like soup. I'm Micah Miller, this is our channel, Easton Outdoors, and today we're going to do a partial rebuild on this pond. We're going to add a biofalls, a skimmer, and an in-pond pump. We're also going to add a little bit of rock and rebuild the waterfall. Let's check it out. So the first thing we have to do is get the water out of the pond. Now this is a bare liner pond, which means it doesn't have any rock or anything in the bottom of it. Now, some people will say that that's okay as long as it has a bottom drain. If you want to know my opinions about a bottom drain, I talked about it in a previous video. Danny will drop a card for you right here. All right, so the first thing we're tackling here is getting the fish out. So you see our blue tanks in the back corner there. We're taking water out of the pond, pumping it into those tanks. Then we're gonna net the fish and we're gonna get them into that pond tank with an aerator in it. That'll just keep the fish out of the way, keep them happy. We're gonna do a couple water changes during the process of this construction. This is a couple days for us, making sure that they are happy over there in those tanks. As soon as the fish and water is out of the pond, we can start the deconstruction process, which is essentially pulling back all the rock, pulling back the skimmer, the waterfall weirs that were at the top, cutting away any of the excess plumbing that was in here. I mean, there was a lot. This pond was actually built by the homeowner here, and he wasn't sure what type of filtration to put on this pond. So he had everything. He had a biofalls, he had a UV light, and he had a sand filter, and they oftentimes work against each other. So a UV light is killing bacteria, and it's indiscriminate. It's not like picking which type of bacteria or which type of algae to kill. It's killing all of those microorganisms, and we need some of those to keep the pond clean. So UV light is actually fighting with our biofalls, which is colonizing beneficial bacteria. So we're cutting out the UV light, we're taking that away. We're taking out the old biofalls because it just wasn't constructed properly and it's showing its signs of wear. And I want to make sure that I can guarantee that this pond is going to live for a few more years. Everything was foamed together really strong. So you can see Nelson there in the red shirt. He's struggling to pull it apart. I frequently see where foam will be used to stop water from leaking over the edge, and that's exactly what was going on here. Is that foam had been put along the whole edge of the waterfall instead of the liner being lipped up, and it wasn't really a perfect solution for keeping the pond from leaking. It was a temporary solution. So the liner's out, we can see our soil, and there was a bunch of different levels, and believe it or not, there was actually a power line down here that you can see what Jim's looking at right now, kind of kicking around at it. There's a power line in the bottom of this pond. So power line apparently had been replaced because the homeowner, when he built this pond, he actually nicked it and it caused it to fail. So Dominion actually ran a whole new power line. So we're going to level out the bottom. We're not going to give it this three-tiered look, but we're going to level it out. And because we only are putting rocks around the top, we're going to carve a shelf to hold those rocks that we're going to put around the water line. All right, now that we've seen a little bit of what's going on here, let's go to the shop and check out the components we're going to use to filter this pond. So we talked about getting that clear water over on that pond, and here's how it's going to happen. This is a biofalls. This is the true heart of the pond. This is what's going to keep that water clean. This is where all the beneficial bacteria is going to grow, and this hasn't been opened yet, so I'm going to show you how this whole kit goes together. We've got this right here, and this is keeping the mats that I'm about to put in from sinking down or settling. So this ends up being like a sedimentation chamber. So the water can flow in, has an opportunity to spread out and then come up evenly over our mats. Now these are gonna catch a lot of sediment, a lot of bacteria is gonna grow in here. It's actually gonna be a really good place to help keep that water clear. We're gonna have a bag that's full of bio balls. Stop it. Stop it. spread that out. Now the water goes in there, goes to the sedimentation chamber, comes up through the panel, through the mats. Danny's laughing now, and now I'm having a hard time. Comes up, bacteria starts to colonize on these balls, then the water flows out and over into the pond. This works because bacteria lives here, and then you can add this rock tray on the side, and you can have plants growing right inside of the pond. And this is the skimmer. This is what protects the heart. Liner affixes right to the face right there. To make things really, really simple, the pump goes on here at the bottom. So there's a bulkhead that screws in here. This goes down, and then the pump sits in the bottom there. And then this tray goes inside there. So now the pump is underneath of here. And then our pre-filter goes in and goes around. If you ever need to take your pump out, this is really, really easy to take apart and just pull the pump out of the pond. Pump's attached, comes out. Really, really easy. This basket right here, it has a little handle that attaches right there. Most people really complain about having to get the basket out of their skimmer on the side of their pond. It's really a big issue. Everybody complains about it. This just sits right down inside of there, and then whenever you need to empty it, you just pull it out, put it back. Our auto doser is really simple. 4 tabs on the side. Inside of it, we keep a bag of maintain on the side of the pond. You set the gallons on the top right here, up and down, and then that just doses beneficial bacteria that then colonizes in the heart, that flows into the pond, that comes in through the skimmer, that comes back to the heart, that goes back in the pond, goes in the skimmer, goes back in the heart, round and round and round, circulating that water. Water stays clear. Next week, we're going to show you guys a hardscape job. It's a really, really cool hardscape job. We're using a bunch of really cool materials. Hope you guys tune in for that next week. Hit that subscribe button. Let's go see what Jim's doing. Okay, now that we have a basic understanding of what components we're putting them in, you can see Jim's already put our biofalls in place at the top of the waterfall. So that's on the right side of your screen. And then on the left side, we've got our skimmer in place, and it's got that fake rock over top of it. So the water's gonna enter there. We've got new plumbing going all the way up to the biofalls at the top. It's gonna come down the waterfall and keep recirculating. We're also putting in some fish caves, just because there's a lot of fish in this, or a lot of birds, not fish. There's a lot of birds in this area. So we gotta make sure that the fish have something to hide and duck under. And we're also gonna run some fishing line that you'll see in the final shots over top of this pond, just so that herons can't wade through this pond. So at the bottom of the pond, you'll notice that there's gravel. So we put our new liner in, we put underlayment over that liner, and then we put gravel. And the reason for the gravel is we're trying to create a bed for additional beneficial bacteria to grow. A lot of people might say, why would you put gravel on the pond? Now we can't clean it. We can't get the fish poop out. Yes, all right, fair enough. This pond is going to have to be cleaned from time to time, but it also gives us a really good place for that poop to stay and collect and get down in the gravel, and also bacteria to digest and eat and kind of use up that fish poop that's at the bottom. So the bacteria actually likes to colonize and live in that rock places, and it'll keep the sediment every time a fish runs past the bottom or swims around or does some crazy antic, especially while spawning. It'll keep a lot of that sediment from getting in the water column and keep it on the bottom of the pond. You can see Jim's just kind of going around checking his liner, making sure the edges are all in the right spot. If we don't get that liner pulled up and kind of lipped around, we go back to the original problem that this waterfall had, where you're using foam to try and control the water to go over the waterfall, which is a really bad place to be because the foam breaks down over time, it disintegrates, and within a year to 18 months, maybe a little longer if you're lucky, you've got water spilling over the edge of the liner again. Unfortunately, because of how murky the water was, a raccoon had gotten into this pond and had gotten stuck. Maybe the raccoon was there fishing, I don't really know, but a raccoon had actually gotten into the water and gotten stuck and started to decompose, and he actually lost a lot of fish. That was kind of what prompted, hey, this pond needs to be rebuilt. I'm tired of dealing with these issues. Come and figure out what's going on with it, put the right filtration. So our UV light is gone because we don't want to fight against our biofalls. We've got a new skimmer that's got an easy basket that you can just pull in and out, so he doesn't have any problem pulling leaves as they fall into the pond out. The pump's at the bottom of that skimmer, plumbing going back up to our biofalls. We don't have any sand filters. We don't have any complicated filters on it. It's just an easy pond to maintain. Now he can really get to enjoying his fish. How is this for a crazy transformation from a pea green soup pond to clear water and fish that he can see and enjoy again? That's really why we're doing it. We're trying to transform this man's backyard and give him back the tranquility that he desired right from the very start when he built this pond. We really appreciate you guys following along. If you liked this video, check out our visit down to Shaq's house or a rec pond. That's right, a rec pond for swimming that we built last week.